Hello, this is Jwlhyfer inviting you and welcoming you to her Gothic Bohemian Salon. Thank you for being here with me tonight. I wanted to talk about what's called, upcycling clothing, or remaking, or remade fashion, etc. This is a huge trend right now, and it's a good thing mostly, but one thing that it's led to is people, of course, cutting up old clothes to make new ones, and that's a really great way to make new things. But I want to urge you not to use vintage clothing to do this. Please use modern clothes from the thrift store, or maybe at the most vintage stuff from the 80s. That clothing isn't really special in any way, and there isn't, dwindling amounts of it, unlike something, say, Victorian, which is probably only one of a kind. What you should do with Victorian clothes, or what you can do with Victorian clothes, is preserve them, study them, and learn from them, and make copies, because it's really easy to take a pattern from a Victorian garment and to make something brand new. And then it won't be falling apart all the time on you, which most antique clothing like that will do. Because the minute the clothing is touching your skin, it's going to start deteriorating, and because of the body oils. Another thing that it's a good idea to do if you collect vintage clothing or antique clothing, it's a good idea to give it what's called an oil bath. And that doesn't mean submerging it in a bathtub that has some oil in it. What it means is you do fill a bathtub with hot water and put something like sweet almond oil, or maybe a scented oil that you like, in the bath water. But then you hang the garment in the bathroom, like on the shower rack or something like that, and let it get the steam from the water and the oil in it. This will take some of the dryness out of the fabric and help it to last longer. And it's really good for really old material. If you have these precious garments, please try to put them in acid-free boxes with acid-free tissue. You can get acid-free tissue on the internet. Just put it in a search engine, and acid-free boxes as well. If all you can afford is the tissue, then just get some boxes, and be sure that you stuff the tissue into like the sleeves and things, and into the folds, so that there aren't strong folds formed, because that's where a weak point will be created, and the garment will start to fall apart at that point. So that's my advice for dealing with antique clothing. Now, how to find antique clothing, if you're interested in finding it? Well, probably the best source right now is eBay and possibly Etsy. A lot of people sell vintage clothes on eBay. Some people charge a lot of money and some people don't. It's a great hobby, collecting antique clothing, and it's really great for goths because we like sometimes to dress up in this kind of clothing, and owning it will give you a lot of ideas for how to make things yourself. And sewing clothes really isn't that difficult. It's actually quite easy. And I am going to do some tutorials on how to take a pattern off of something and make a brand new one, so that you're not wearing that Victorian thing that keeps falling apart every time you put it on. So the best place is eBay. I recommend that you use off terms to look for things, like spell things slightly incorrectly. If you're looking for mourning items, be really, really careful. A lot of people think that anything black is mourning, but that's not the case. Mourning things were made to be very plain and dull, and they were put, they had a material called crepe as trim on them, which was usually pinned on, and as it was considered to be unlucky to have crepe in the house, it's extremely rare to find crepe, or actually even real mourning clothes in the first place, because of that custom. So really do be really careful about what you buy that's supposed to be mourning. Now, if you're interested in mourning jewelry, once again, you kind of encounter a minefield in a way, but in this area, it's a little bit easier to tell mourning things from things that aren't mourning. So once again, just because something's black doesn't mean that it's mourning, but there's a few things that will help you indicate mourning. If the piece is primarily black and there is hair, like underneath the glass cover, or inside under a glass, like a locket or something like that, if it says, if there's letters, IMO stands for in memory of, like on the cover of a locket or something like that. It could be silver and have those letters on it. Also, if there's tiny little pearls, the tiny pearls, the seed pearls, symbolize tears, and pretty much anything you see that's black with seed pearls, and particularly hair, is going to be a mourning item. Don't overpay for these things. There's a lot of very inexpensive mourning out there, and you don't need to pay crazy, extravagant prices unless you see something that you just absolutely love. You know, make sure that it is what it says it is, and that you really, really love it, and that you haven't seen it a billion times before, because some of the motifs used are repeated over and over again. And if you see something that you really like, you might see another one come down the road pretty easily. Another way to tell mourning is by the types of symbolic flowers and plants that are included in the jewelry. So ivy leaves, or branches rather, weeping willow trees, let's see, sometimes roses and lily of the valley are a pretty good indication, and I believe pansies and lazy susans, I think, are another flower that is often used in mourning. Mourning things are really fun to collect, and I hope that you've enjoyed this little look at collecting vintage and mourning items. I'll be talking more about it at another time, but I just thought I'd give you a quick once over on it this time. So thank you for joining me in the Bohemian Gothic Salon. Good night.